Welcome to the Solopreneurs CEO Podcast. I'm Carin Kilby-Clark, and along with my co-host Marcia Sheehan, we help solopreneurs lead with clarity and build businesses that grow without burnout. This show is for solopreneurs who've built something real but are carrying more of the load than they want to be. Your business works, but it depends too heavily on you, and deep down, you know it shouldn't feel this hard. Here, we talk about the mindset, systems, structure, and support it actually takes to run a business without sacrificing your well-being. We're not about hustle culture or pushing harder just to survive. This podcast is about stepping out of reactive solopreneur mode and into CEO-level leadership so your business can support your life instead of consuming it. If you're ready for honest conversations, real-world strategies, and a lot less pretending, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome back. This is exciting because you just listened to an episode last week where Marcia had a solo cast. One of the things that we love about the Solopreneur CEO brand is we can play with different formats and mix it up a bit. So you'll have other solo casts coming your way from me, from Marcia. We'll be doing interviews. We have an interview coming up that I know you guys are going to love. So stay tuned in because you never know what you're going to get when you come over to Solopreneur CEO. We are back this week with the co-hosted conversation with Carin, that's me, and Marcia. And we're going to talk about deciding to be a CEO. And so it's a really fun topic. It's an ongoing conversation because a lot of times solopreneurs, they don't fail at, and I hate saying fail, but they don't, I'm putting my air quotes, fail at being in that CEO mode because they're not capable of it. It's not because you don't know how. I mean, no one really knows how. I mean, yes, there's like tons of leadership books. There's tons of coaches and consultants that will tell you how to be a CEO, but everyone is different. Every business, although there's certain structures and principles of business that are timeless and apply across, when you're a solopreneur especially, your business is like your little tiny baby that you birthed, and it is special. It is a snowflake. At least that's what we think. And that's okay. We are allowed to believe that. It is a very personal thing to step into that CEO role, especially if you're not really sure, what does that even mean? What does that really look like? What does that actually change in how I'm moving day to day and how I'm showing up in my business? So we're going to talk about today the decision to just start calling yourself CEO, start living in that space, start being in that energy. What does that really look like and feel like? And we're going to talk about all the ooey gooey mindset stuff. And yeah, this is going to be a good one.
Something you said made me think about, it was a couple years ago where there were badges. I adulted today. Being a CEO in your business, deciding I'm not going to just be the operator, I'm going to be the CEO, I'm going to be the leader, I'm going to be making these big boss moves and decisions and everything. It's like being an adult. They try to tell you, oh, when you turn 18, you're an adult. Yeah, in the eyes of the law, right? You can be tried as an adult at that point. But I remember even back into my mid 30s being like, I don't feel like an adult. When am I going to actually feel like an adult? Because my spirit is young and I'm immature and I'm impulsive. And during my solo cast, I talked about ADHD. And I think a lot of people who are neurodiverse, is that what it is? Yeah. Anyway, people think, I can't believe I'm entrusted with taking care of this baby. So it really is a mindset thing. Deciding to become a CEO, it's important to do that. And it's also important to understand that the decisions that you're going to make, they're not set in stone. We have this whole polarized view on everything. If I'm going to be the CEO in my business and I'm going to be the leader and everything and make all of the decisions, I have to nail it and I have to get it right. No, it's not realistic at all. You just have to make the decision. And then whenever you're showing up, have that be like a pattern disruptor where if you're doing something and you're like, this isn't something I should be doing, then just take note of it, right? And then make your decisions and live your life and do your work in that mode where it's like, is this what the CEO would be doing? Is this what she would be thinking? Am I taking the right actions? And so, yeah, it was funny though, because I'm like, oh my God, like being an adult.
I love that so much. And it really is a perfect analogy because I think about how when I was younger, I really wanted to get mail. I just thought mail was going to be like the thing, right? So whenever I would get mail, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so grown up. I was like 7, whatever. But like when you are actually an adult, you kind of look back and you're like, why the hell was I trying to rush this? Like, why was I trying to move so fast into this place? So it can feel like that if you're a solopreneur, you might think, well, I don't want to rush into that. Because once you get there, like CEO, you don't go backwards, you know? You stay in that energy, you stay in that mode. So it might feel like, well, I don't want to rush into it because then I'm going to be like, well, maybe it was nice when I was just the operator or just the creative, or I was able to just play in those other spaces and feel safe and comfortable. And so it is something you have to just take a moment with yourself and decide. And what's nice about this, which is different from adulting, is that it's not one or the other, right? You don't get to just be an adult and never be a kid again. I mean, that's what happens in that world. But when you're stepping into those CEO shoes, it doesn't mean you're never going to, especially as a solopreneur, have moments of operator mode or be in your creative space. You're the one that's creating. You have to be in a creative space when you're writing content or creating the products and services that you deliver. So what's nice is that you get to move in and out of those roles when the business needs you to do those different roles. But the I don't want to say problem, challenge, the issue. The thing here is that if you are never putting on that CEO hat, if you are never stepping into that CEO mode, your business will suffer for it. If you are only playing in those other spaces and you are never actually taking that step back and thinking like, how do I want to lead this? How do I want to structure this so that it fits my life and it doesn't take it over? How do I really want the experience to be for my customers? Stepping away and taking that 50,000-foot view, all that kind of stuff, then your business is going to feel that absence of a CEO. And whether it's just you or you have a small team or whatever the case may be, you have to play in that CEO space as well. And that's the one that we just see so many solopreneurs avoid because it just doesn't feel like they don't feel like they need to. They don't really know what that means or what that changes. And so, yeah, it's so interesting when you unpack the whole CEO thing because it's like chief executive officer of my business of one. It does feel kind of weird. I mean, I talked about it on an email I wrote to my list this week about the first time I felt like a CEO. It does feel like shoes that don't quite fit. And you're like, why do I need to call myself a CEO? And we're not saying go change your title on Instagram and go put CEO everywhere. This has nothing to do with that. It literally is just a mode that you step into and the way you will make decisions, think about your business, plan things. That's really where that CEO mode is important. Again, we're not caring about your title. You don't have to go around and say, I'm Carin Kilby Clark, CEO of Time to Thrive. Nobody's listening to that. Nobody cares about that. But in the behind the scenes, am I stepping into CEO mode at least once a week, once a month, a quarter, like really doing some deep dive planning, thinking about my offers, my community, all that? Yes, I have to, because if I don't, the business will suffer for it.
That's really good. And it made me think that people on Threads do actually care if you refer to yourself as a CEO and you're just a one person. I got like in the rabbit hole. There were so many comments, but it's also like mompreneur. There's certain words that people really dislike, but it doesn't matter. Carin and I don't care what you call yourself, but we care that you're making the decisions that are going to help the growth and stability of your business, right? It's funny because like to start a business, you really do have to be in that CEO mindset from the get, right? Because you want to set it up and you want to classify your business in the right way. So you get it registered with the state, you open your business bank account. I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, let's just say I have some cleaning up to do because anyway, so I will be in operator mode on Monday morning, figuring out my bank situation. But anyway, you have to do all of these things, right? And it's like very adult, it's very CEO. It's kind of like a mix, right? So you're in the operator mode, but you're also in the CEO mode. And because you want to set this business up correctly from the get. And I think what happens is just the day to day of running an operation by yourself, you get pulled into the minutia. And if you do get to have time off, your nervous system might be trying to recalibrate and just let you rest, which LOL, that's not a thing. If you're a business owner, just try to get the brain. It does actually work for clients. I onboarded a client over the week. It was someone who I'd worked with before, and their operation is Monday through Friday. I'm not even checking that email this weekend. When I worked with them previously, I was checking my email on the weekends. I made that decision before starting to work with this client again. I talked to the owner of the company and I was like, this is when you can access me. So I gave her an idea of what my schedule was. And so I don't have it in the background whirling in my brain. And I think that's what I want for everyone. I want you to care deeply. And I don't know if I communicated this well in the episode last week, but I want you to care deeply about your clients, but I just don't want them to be taking up the majority of your brain space. I want your business to be taking up the majority of your brain space.
That is such a good point about the mental load because when you just make the decision to hold some boundaries, to design your structure intentionally, it's not haphazard and you're just kind of moving along and things are happening. You're like, okay, I guess I'll go with that. It's really intentional, life first. I remember when I was first introduced to the full focus planner, which I've been using that maybe 9 years now. I don't even know. Whenever they first came out. So, whatever their founding date was, I was like one of the early customers. And what I loved about the system was when Michael Hyatt, who created the planner and the whole full focus thing, when he talked about planning your quarter or planning your ideal week or planning your month or your year, he always started with what is going to be happening in your life. If you have a kid graduating or you have a big vacation planned or whatever it is, blocking that first. And then what are the hours that you want to start and stop? Do you want to work on the weekend? So that was my first time really thinking about that. I mean, it's a little different for me. Marcia knows I hate those ideal week things now just because so much of my week is taken up by my job. So it's kind of hard to, well, I don't know, for 12 hours a day, I'm not here. But it still is a good practice to think intentionally, even if you're like me and you have some big time commitments that maybe you feel like you don't have control over all of your time. When you do have time, making intentional decisions and planning around your life instead of trying to fit your life into the plan. You know, the whole big rock, sand, pebble thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google rock, sand, pebble analogy or something. It should pop up. Your life is the big rocks. Those are the things that are the most important to fit in. And what happens a lot of times if you're not thinking intentionally, not making those decisions from that CEO mindset, is your life can just be the pebbles or the sand that has to fit around everything else that came first. And then you're unhappy and you're burnt out and you're ungrateful and you're biting off people's heads. Like all the stuff that happens when you haven't stepped back and really taken the time to be in that CEO mode. It is true. It really does lift mental load. It doesn't sound like it would make a big deal. Like, I'm just stepping in the CEO mode and now I have less mental. Yes, you have less mental load because you've made decisions and you're sticking to those decisions. You're not revisiting, you're not second guessing, you're deciding, moving on. And you can tweak, you can tinker and tweak along the way. And like Marcia said, it's not set in stone. But the fact that you make a decision, you move forward and operate under that decision and with that understanding, that just removes so much clutter from your mind of back and forth. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Oh, what about this? What about that? No, That is just a one-way ticket to, I guess, burnout. Yeah. I want to find a better word, but burnout is the word. And we don't want you to be burned out. We want you to be energized by your business. We want you to be energized by your clients. We want you to be happy when you see that Stripe notification, not dreading, oh, great, now I got to deliver. I got to do all this stuff, because you haven't structured the business in a way that makes that easy for you. We just want you to be in that energy where your business is fun, it's in line with your vision, it fits around your life, and you're able to serve all the clients you want to serve, whether that's 5 at a time or 20 at a time or whatever. And it also fulfills you, right? Like that you're getting to do the thing that you started your business for in the first place.
Yeah, and we want that fulfillment from the business, not from the busy work that can sometimes make us feel like we're achieving stuff, right? Because I love working. I love getting stuff done. I love it when I hyper focus on something and kind of black out. And then 4 hours later, I've done something. I think it was like with the summit. I really enjoyed it and it made me feel really good. But that was operator type stuff, which is fine. The decision to host the summit, all of that, that was us in our CEO decision making. Yeah. So we want the fulfillment to come from having a business that feeds you, doesn't bleed you. I was going through all my old posts, and that was in one of the presentations that I did. We want your business to feed you, not bleed you. And it's true. You're not going to be in CEO mode 24/7, but take that time, do the CEO day, put an hour on your calendar once a week, make the decisions, and then, like Carin said, just work towards whatever it is your vision is and then reassess. You can reassess once a quarter. You can join us for our quarterly workshops where we spend an hour and a half plotting out the next quarter, but we also spend time like, okay, what worked during this past 12 weeks? It's the checking in, it's the making the decisions, and it's not getting caught up in the day-to-day and thinking that you're moving the needle because you're working. Carin and I have a very specific vision for why we think that solopreneurs can take over the world. Just kidding. But we think that you can have a lean, mean operating machine and you can do it on your own. You just have to structure it in a way that doesn't have you in the center of it at all times. Like you need to be looking at it from up above. And oh my God, I'm like creating a song in my mind right now. Anyway, the coffee has kicked in.
No, I love that because it's true. Like you do not want to be the center of everything at all times. Because again, our favorite, not favorite, but the only word I can come up with to describe it is burnout. Because that's where that comes from. Burnout is not necessarily like you hate everything or you want to give it up or you burn it all down. It really is just that it's too much load on your capacity. Like it's too much load on your mental capacity, maybe physical capacity. I mean, it's just too much load. I love that. Just like you in the center of it all is not, just because you're a solopreneur does not mean you have to be doing every little thing at all the time. Yeah. It's such a perfect analogy. Marcia mentioned our quarterly workshops. We do those with our members, but we do also allow others to join. We'll never miss an opportunity to invite you to join the Success Secret Society just because we know that it's hard to do this. It's hard to stay in this mode regularly and having support is important. So if that feels like it could be aligned, definitely check the link in the show notes. We would love for you to join a group of people who are able to just be as we are, show up as we are, dump it out, talk through the gobbledygook and come to a better place on the other side of it and just regularly support each other in playing in that CEO space so that our business can, like Marcia said, be a lean, mean operating machine. I love that. So definitely check it out.
Thanks so much for spending time with us today. If this episode made you feel seen or helped something click, join our free community at solopreneursceo.com. This is a space to connect with other solopreneurs who are building sustainable businesses and don't want to do it alone. And if you found this conversation helpful, leaving a quick review helps more people find the show and reminds them they're not the only ones feeling this way. We're really glad you're here, and we'll see you in the next episode.